Gildan Media, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Manager's Guide to HR, Hiring, Firing, Performance Evaluations, Documentation, Benefits, and Everything Else You Need to Know, 2nd edition, by Max Muller. Narrated by Timothy Andrés Pabon. Chapter 1. Hiring. Introduction. Hiring dumb is easy. Hiring smart is hard. All it takes to hire dumb is to select a job description written by someone once upon a time, a long time ago, one that is hopelessly out of date when compared with the job as it currently exists, and then use that job definition to recruit a candidate who fits the job description, not the actual job. Hiring dumb also involves advertising job openings in ways that discriminate against potential candidates based on their race, religion, age, sex, national origin, physical disabilities, or other legally protected characteristics. Hiring smart involves defining the job properly, and then developing a job description that is more than a bullet list of generalized descriptors of technical skills. A well-researched and well-developed job description is the foundation stone of smart recruiting, interviewing, and hiring, as well as staff retention. Defining the job. The first order of business in hiring smart is to analyze the job in terms of skills and knowledge required, how the work is performed, typical work settings. Analytic steps. Identify and determine in detail the particular job duties, requirements, and the relative importance of these duties and requirements for a given job by undertaking the following steps. 1. Review existing job description, if any. 2. Review public source information and job classification systems. 3. Conduct incumbent surveys and interviews. 4. Conduct supervisor surveys and interviews. Review existing job description. Although your existing job description could well be out of date, it does represent a starting point from which to derive basic technical skills, reporting relationships, and other information. The existing description also provides you with a baseline against which to measure the current job, in other words, how the job has evolved or materially changed. Review public source information and job classification systems. Looking at how other companies describe jobs will help you write a good job description. Here are some examples of public sources of that information. The Occupational Information Network, ONET system, www.onetcenter.org. Database of occupational requirements and worker attributes, comprehensive source of descriptors with ratings of importance, level, relevance, or extent for more than 900 occupations. Common language and terminology describing occupational requirements. The Occupational Outlook Handbook, OOH, http://www.bls.gov/oco/home.htm. Publication of the U.S. Department of Labor Bureau of Labor Statistics, includes information about the nature of the work, working conditions, training and education, earnings, and job outlook for hundreds of different occupations, released biennially with its companion publication, The Career Guide to Industries. These sources will give you a good idea of how to classify a job. Conduct incumbent surveys and interviews. Find out what the people who have actually been doing the job think. What technical skills do they think are required? To whom do they believe they report, irrespective of what an organization chart says? Whom do they believe reports to them? Whom do they interact with on an ongoing basis? How do they believe the job is actually performed? What percentage of their time is being spent on various tasks or undertakings, and so forth? Help them help you. Most staff members do not think of their jobs in an organized fashion or spend any time trying to measure how many minutes or hours per day they engage in any particular task versus any other. However, that is precisely the information you need to successfully analyze the job and develop a meaningful job description. Consequently, provide incumbents with box checklists, surveys, and questionnaires to fill out. Box checklists. Here is an example of a portion related to bookkeeping, accounting, or auditing clerks. Determine which tasks you perform and their frequency. Task, frequency, daily, weekly, monthly. Task. Check figures, postings, and documents for correct entry, mathematical accuracy, and proper codes. Daily, weekly, monthly. Task. Operate computers programmed with accounting software to record, store, and analyze information. Frequency. Daily, weekly, monthly. Task. Comply with federal, state, and company policies, procedures, and regulations. Frequency. Daily, weekly, monthly. Task. Debit, credit, and total accounts on computer spreadsheets and databases using specialized accounting software. Frequency. Daily, weekly, monthly. Task. Classify, record, and summarize numerical and financial data to compile and keep financial records using journals and ledgers or computers. Frequency. Daily, weekly, monthly. Task. Calculate, prepare, and issue bills, invoices, account statements, and other financial statements according to established procedures. Frequency. Daily, weekly, monthly. Task. Compile statistical, financial, accounting, or auditing reports and tables pertaining to such matters as cash receipts, expenditures, accounts payable and receivable, and profits and losses. Frequency. Daily, weekly, monthly. Task. Code documents according to company procedures. Access computerized financial information to answer general questions as well as those related to specific accounts. Frequency. Daily, weekly, monthly. Task. Operate 10 key calculators, typewriters, and copy machines to perform calculations and produce documents. Frequency. Daily, weekly, monthly. Surveys and questionnaires. Here's an example of a portion of a survey related to bookkeeping, accounting, or auditing clerks. Please specify the tools and equipment you use in your job. Desktop computers. Scanners. Please specify the technology you use in your job. Accounting software. FlexiLedger software. Intuit QuickBooks. Intuit Quicken software. Quicken Elite software. Compliance software. CRSTL Compliance Positioning System. FLS-EDP.Payroll Tax. Intrax Procedure Net. Paisley Card Map. Document Management Software. AccuTrack Software. OmniRim Software. Records Management Software. Enterprise Resource Planning ERP Software. Acorn Systems Corporate Performance Management. AMS Services AMS Sagita. Business Performance Management BPM Software. Cartesis ES magnitude. Financial analysis software. Auditing software. Auditware software. Methodware Pro Audit Advisor. RSM McGladrey Auditor Assistant. Please explain the following relationships as they are related to your job. Supervision given and received. Relationships with internal people. Relationships with external people. People who have had the job before are probably your best source of information about the day-to-day responsibilities, so make sure you ask them. You also, however, need to check with their managers because the job may be changing or the manager may not have liked the way the employee handled the position. Conduct supervisor surveys and interviews. Surveying and interviewing supervisors will provide you with the information you need to determine the core competencies required for the specific job in question. For example, you should discuss the following: knowledge, clerical, knowledge of administrative and clerical procedures and systems such as word processing, managing files and records, stenography and transcription, designing forms, and other office procedures and terminology. Mathematics. Knowledge of arithmetic, algebra, geometry, calculus, statistics, and their applications. English language. Knowledge of the structure and content of the English language, including the meaning and spelling of words, rules of composition, and grammar. Economics and accounting. Knowledge of economic and accounting principles and practices, financial markets, banking, and analysis and reporting of financial data. Customer and personal service. Knowledge of principles and processes for providing customer and personal services. This includes customer needs assessment, meeting quality standards for services, and evaluation of customer satisfaction. Computers and electronics. Knowledge of circuit boards, processors, chips, electronic equipment, and computer hardware and software, including applications and programming. Skills. Mathematics. Using mathematics to solve problems. Reading comprehension. Understanding written sentences and paragraphs in work-related documents. Time management. Managing one's own time and the time of others. Active listening. Giving full attention to what other people are saying, taking time to understand the points being made, asking questions as appropriate, and not interrupting at inappropriate times. Critical thinking. Using logic and reasoning to identify the strengths and weaknesses of alternative solutions, conclusions, or approaches to problems. Active learning. Understanding the implications of new information for both current and future problem solving and decision making. Learning strategies. Selecting and using training and instructional methods and procedures appropriate for the situation when learning or teaching new things. Social perceptiveness. Being aware of others' reactions and understanding why they react as they do. Writing. Communicating effectively in writing as appropriate for the needs of the audience. Speaking. Talking to others to convey information effectively. Abilities. Near vision. The ability to see details at close range within a few feet of the observer. Mathematical reasoning. The ability to choose the right mathematical methods or formulas to solve a problem. Problem sensitivity. The ability to tell when something is wrong or is likely to go wrong. It does not involve solving the problem, only recognizing there is a problem. Deductive reasoning. The ability to apply general rules to specific problems to produce answers that make sense. Information ordering. The ability to arrange things or actions in a certain order or pattern according to a specific rule or set of rules, e.g., patterns of numbers, letters, words, pictures, or mathematical operations. Oral comprehension. The ability to listen to and understand information and ideas presented through spoken words and sentences. Written comprehension. The ability to read and understand information and ideas presented in writing. Written expression. The ability to communicate information and ideas in writing so others will understand. Oral expression. The ability to communicate information and ideas in speaking so others will understand. Speech clarity. The ability to speak clearly so others can understand you. Information related on bookkeeping, accounting, or auditing clerks was from the ONET online system. Development steps. After completing information gathering through the analytic steps discussed in the table, distill the information into a usable form through the creation of a job audit form and an essential/non-essential duties and responsibilities chart. Job audit form. A job audit form is not a job description. However, it forms a basis on which to draft the job description, such as in the following example. Job audit form. Audit conducted by. Date. Job title. Department. Major duties. Minor duties. Reporting relationships. Supervised by. Supervises. Training required. Education required. Certificates/licenses required. Experience required. Physical requirements. On-the-job hazards/working conditions. Source or sources of job audit information. Essential and/or non-essential duties and responsibilities chart. E equals essential functions, N equals non-essential functions. Percentage of time devoted, 35. Essential or non-essential, E. Task, check figures, postings, and documents for correct entry, mathematical accuracy, and proper codes. Percentage of time devoted, 55. Essential or non-essential, E. Task, operate computers programmed with accounting software to record, store, and analyze information. Percentage of time devoted, 5. Essential or non-essential, N. Task, compile statistical, financial, accounting, or auditing reports and tables pertaining to such matters as cash receipts, expenditures, accounts payable and receivable, and profits and losses. Percentage of time devoted, 2. Essential or non-essential, N. Task, work with the public. Writing the job description. Minimum requirements. Start with developing the minimum job requirements, including summary statement, provides a synopsis of the major purpose of a position and its role in the department. Duties, major subdivisions of work performed by one individual. Tasks, work operations that are logical, essential steps in the performance of a duty. The Tasks section of the description defines the methods, procedures, and techniques by which duties are carried out. It should show what is done, action, how it is done, procedures, materials, tools, or equipment, why it is done, purpose. Begin each task statement with an action verb in the first person present tense, such as write, calibrate, analyze, coordinate, approve, accept, devise, or develop. Degree of supervision. Supervision either given or received. Once you have the essential minimum requirements, put them into your job template. Job description template. Job title. Department. Reports to. FLSA status. Summary. Essential duties and responsibilities. Other duties may be assigned. Supervisory responsibilities. Qualifications. Education and/or experience. Language skills. Mathematical skills. Reasoning ability. Certificates, licenses, registrations. Physical demands. Work environment. Recruiting. Recruiting generally. Successful recruiting is centered on techniques to attract a large pool of qualified applicants. Internal job postings. Because they already possess working knowledge of your organization's policies, procedures, and so on, current employees are an immediately available and important applicant pool for job vacancies. Job vacancies may represent desirable promotions, upward moves, or transfers, lateral moves. In general, all vacancies should be publicized through internal physical postings on bulletin boards, at meetings, or through the organization's website or web blog. These postings will help you discover qualified employees within your organization and could help in meeting Equal Employment Opportunity (EEO) commitments. Many organizations limit how soon or how often a current employee can apply for an opening. For example, an employee must be with the company for at least a year and in his or her current job for 6 months to become eligible to apply for a vacancy. It is neither legally necessary nor operationally desirable to give present employees first refusal on all vacancies. However, a promotion and transfer system can build employee trust and enhance morale. Note, a common problem with internal recruiting is that managers will deliberately sabotage the promotion chances of their best employees in order to retain them. Employee referrals. Current employee referrals, especially from good performers, are an effective job applicant source, and people generally make friends with people similar to themselves. Good people want to work with good people. Hard workers gravitate to other hard workers, and therefore, referrals from your best performers are likely to be highly desirable applicants, and word of mouth is a strong method of advertising open positions. Also, referred applicants tend to have a more realistic picture of an organization and can be reached at practically no cost. Note, a major disadvantage of employee referrals can be the current worker's expectation that all referred applicants should receive job offers. Also note, employee referral programs may be perceived as discriminatory in practice. Example: if an existing work group is fairly homogeneous, that is, 98% of all workers are white women, you will likely end up hiring more people within the same limited group and have a disparate impact on all others. So employee referrals should not be your only recruitment method, especially if you have a primarily homogeneous group. External sources. The Internet, certainly including the company's own website, is becoming a primary source of attracting talent. External to the organization and to the Internet are an array of recruiting sources including but not limited to newspaper and trade publication advertisements, educational institutions, labor and community organizations, job fairs, state agencies, professional search firms, online recruiting sites, employee leasing, temporary agencies, billboards, and past employees. Recruiting and discrimination. Discriminatory recruitment. Section 703 Civil Rights Act of 1964, CRA, other federal laws, and the Fair Employment Practice Acts, FEPAs, of almost every state, make it an unlawful employment practice for any employer, employment agency, or labor organization to deprive any individual of employment opportunities because of the applicant's race, color, religion, sex, national origin, physical disability, or other characteristic protected by law. Because of these laws, employers cannot fail or refuse to hire an individual because he or she is a member of a protected class or print or publish or cause to be printed or published a job advertisement that may adversely affect a member of a protected class. Since you are trying to recruit applicants whose skills and abilities match the job or jobs in question, advertisements should contain words and phrases that focus on the job. Job-related language is your best defense against printing or publishing discriminatory advertisements. Job-related advertising language. A discriminatory job advertisement is one that indicates, or that might reasonably be understood as indicating, that an employer intends to commit an act of unlawful discrimination when determining who should be offered employment or promotion. Intent to discriminate is determined from what an employer says or does, not from what is actually meant. For example, an employer seeking applicants for an entry-level position may say in its job advertisement, "Perfect for those just starting their careers." This seems to indicate people over age 40 are not being sought. More appropriate wording would simply state that the job is an entry-level position. An advertisement must be read as a whole, and you must be careful of not only the words you use, but also the pictures. Example: a job advertisement for a mechanic that features a male mechanic, or an advertisement for a nurse that presents a picture of a female nurse, could indicate a preference based on sex, gender. A central issue is whether the advertisement's language has a disparate impact on one or another protected group. Disparate impact is where an employment practice appears to be neutral, however in practice it disproportionately and adversely impacts members of a protected group. It doesn't have to eliminate everyone in the protected group, merely a statistically significant number of that group. Example: a job advertisement that states a height requirement may have a disparate impact on women or Asians, national origin discrimination. A narrow exception exists regarding discriminatory job requirements if there is a characteristic that a candidate must possess to actually do the job in question. This is called a bona fide occupational qualification, BFOQ. The BFOQ must be significantly necessary for operation of the employer's business. For example, being female is not a BFOQ for working in a women's health club in such positions as a manager or trainer. However, it could be for being an attendant in the women's locker room. Other areas where issues related to disparate impact might arise include the following: educational standards, no facial hair standards for men where there is no operational or safety-related reason for the policy, pre-employment testing, referrals from current workforce, if current workforce is predominantly of one race, gender, etc. Retention of applications and resumes. Applications in response to job advertisements. You must retain for 1 year any resumes or applications you receive in response to job advertisements you have placed in any media. Title 29 Code of Federal Regulations Section 1602.14, Preservation of Records Made or Kept, says among other things, any personnel or employment record made or kept by an employer, including but not necessarily limited to requests for reasonable accommodation, application forms submitted by applicants, and other records having to do with hiring, promotion, demotion, transfer, layoff, or termination, rates of pay or other terms of compensation, and selection for training or apprenticeship, shall be preserved by the employer for a period of 1 year from the date of the making of the record or the personnel action involved, whichever occurs later. Although you must retain applications.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?